Hey everyone, welcome in to a midweek edition of DodgerHeads. Today I'm joined with Daniel Starkin, and we've got a news story that's in the cycle that we think is worth discussing. We're talking about baseball and will it happen in 2020? Well, the latest proposal, one that you can find online at DodgerBlue.com, is one in which MLB teams would be split between Arizona, Texas, and Florida. So we've gone from one state to maybe two states to maybe three states. Daniel, as you've read up on this and done a little bit of research, is there anything I'm missing? What sort of differentiates this from some of the other plans that we've seen?
Yeah, I think we talked about this on one of our other shows. Stan Kasten mentioned that there's probably 100 different plans that the league is discussing right now that could potentially be in play. So this is just another one of them. At first, we heard they were going to put all 30 teams in Arizona. Then they split it to Arizona and Florida, and now Texas is getting involved. I think I read the same report as you, the CBS one that said they would be splitting all the teams up in the three states just because they all have dome stadiums and all those places get really hot during the summer. So they didn't say whether it would be 10 teams in each place or maybe 12 in one and 8 in another. But I think that would be pretty interesting. I'm not exactly sure why Texas they needed a third location. I feel like 2 would have been enough. But yeah, it's just one of the other options that they're looking at right now, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me, it feels like each one of these plans, there's some improvements. And so this one was, they kind of answered the question of, are we really going to play baseball in Phoenix in July or in, Florida or whatever? It's like, okay, all these places have retractable roofs. Perfect. And the Texas piece is weird. The only thing I can think, they mentioned minor league stadiums, so I don't know if there are pockets maybe around Dallas or Houston where there's sort of an MLB team and then maybe 2-3 minor league sort of stadiums nearby. But yeah, it did feel like, one of those things where you scratch your head and say, is there a little bit of politics going on here? In addition to, like, hey, we'll let you do this as long as you include Texas. But I think one of the things, sort of the two things that jump out to me, the first is in any of these scenarios, you're going to lose a lot of the rivalry. So if we're splitting people into 3 places, even if it's even 10 teams in each, you and I have had a conversation earlier where it's like, well, are you just going to play the same 9 teams 100 times? So you get 10, that's kind of an odd thing. And then you mix in, well, who are the 9 teams and how do you make that fair? Whoever gets all the NL West teams in their pocket is going to be in good shape. Like if you get to play the Giants 12 times, versus having to play the Braves 12 times. And so that's another one. And do we really want to create a scenario where the Dodgers and Giants don't get to play, or some of these other the Red Sox and Yankees? I mean, imagine if the Red Sox and Yankees end up in different states. That would be a big miss, it feels like, for baseball. And so how do you do that equitably while also sort of managing that? But I think the bigger issue that we keep coming back to on this show is the players. Like, you can keep throwing out these proposals and keep coming up with ideas, and they might seem like really good ideas, but guess what? Unless Clayton Kershaw thinks it's a good idea, unless Kenley Jansen thinks it's a good idea, unless, you mentioned Mike Trout thinks it's a good idea, it doesn't matter. Because if the 50 best players who all have enough money to say, I can sit out a year, all say, we're good, then it doesn't matter. Like, none of this matters, at least to me. I mean, and maybe that leads into a bigger conversation of your thoughts on all of that, but is there a baseball season if 50, 60, 100 players say we're out? Like, are we just going to see, glorified minor league teams with a couple stars mixed in? What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that's something to keep an eye on and probably the biggest issue at hand. Like, we've already seen Clayton Kershaw and Mike Trout, 2 of the biggest stars in the game. They've both gone on record saying that they don't want to play if they have to be away from their families, quarantined for months at a time. And I think if there's enough of those guys, the big stars that are saying the same thing, then the MLBPA might have to take that stance, and then we might not get any season at all. I mean, we've also seen other players like Justin Turner, Alex Wood, Gavin Lux, I'm sure other guys on other teams have said the same thing, that they want to play at whatever the cost may be. So I definitely think there's a large portion that wants to play, but if there's a big enough portion that doesn't, then that could be a real issue at hand, and it's definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward.
Yeah, well, we'd love to hear all of your thoughts. So as you watch this video on YouTube or wherever you watch it, please leave us some comments. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Dodger Blue or Dodger Blue 1958. And as always, there's more coverage on this and plenty of other news stories on DodgerBlue.com. So check it out there. We appreciate you joining us for a few minutes. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Talk to you soon.